Well, we've got Oneal Walters here with us, who's the author of The Empty Couple, a domestic thriller in which a couple with a seemingly perfect life are hiding behind a dark secret of domestic abuse. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, thank you. I like the introduction. Awesome.
Yeah. Well, it does sound like quite a thrilling book, doesn't it? So, without giving too much away, are you able to expand on that premise a little bit?
Absolutely. So picture this. It's similar to what's happening in COVID, which is so weird. But you have a lady by the name of Ruth. She's married. Well, not married. She's in a common law relationship, which is now technically considered married, right?
Yeah.
And she's been there for about 4 years. She's with her boyfriend. Her boyfriend is a mechanic, but he lost his job. Now, yes. So it's almost like, you know how we have now COVID, half a family member might be working, the other half might be working, or both are not working. It's similar to that. So they have bills that are mounting, like mounting and mounting and mounting, because now 50% of your revenue is gone. So now Ruth is stressed out because of that. And then at the same time, because he's unemployed, and I can't tell you the reason why, because that's a little, plot twist in the story. But because he's unemployed and because he's a heavy drinker, he's having an abusive relationship with Ruth.
Yeah. And on Amazon, of course, you can sort of read a little bit of the book before buying it, like the first few pages. And there is quite an interesting affair at the start in terms of cleaning clothes, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I've read a few books, and in reading those books, it's like such a slow build, incredibly slow, almost like a roller coaster, and you're moving inch by inch by inch by inch, and it's such a, I hate that. So when I really do. So when I I wrote this book, and for my next book, it begins with I call like fire, like anticipation, action, suspense. Better word for it would be drama, like intense drama. So as soon as, yes, you're right, as soon as the book starts, there's drama between Michael, and that's her boyfriend, and Ruth. And he has such a bizarre point of view. He thinks that she's not helping him, and she is. He thinks that she's trying to kill him, and he's not. And this is basically him getting mad and smashing a plate, and she sweeps it up. And later on, he steps on what would you call those things? The splinters of the plate. And he blames her, saying, "You're trying to kill me, but you were the one that hit the plate to break it in the first place." So it does start off with a lot of drama right in the beginning, because I want to suck the reader in to say, okay, listen, this is a domestic thriller. They're together, but there's problems.
Yeah, that's quite true that there are problems. And of course, they have a seemingly perfect life. Is that to people outside of the house's perspective?
Yes, because much like domestic abuse in real life, the lady who's experiencing it doesn't want to tell anybody. Much like in real life, she might be embarrassed to say, okay, this is what's happening. Much like in real life, she might be she might feel like a failure. Like, I put 4 years into this relationship, and if I really objectively look at it, it's not working. But I don't want to do that. I want to hope that maybe he changes, or hope that things get better. And you'll see that throughout the story. She is naive to what's happening. She's forced to face reality, which we're not going to say how, but she is naive and she makes excuses. And you'll see other characters hinting that something's wrong at home, but she will defend and say, no, it's not that, or no, he's not that person, or he's a great guy. And she'll even go into prayer. She's religious. She goes into prayer and she says, I hope that we can get my husband, boyfriend, whatever the situation is, because they're not married, but they're married. You know how that goes, right? She prays that I hope he stays away from alcohol, meaning like she thinks alcohol is the cause for his situation, but it's him. It's really, really him that's abusing her. It's not outside factors.
Yeah. And there is sort of this cycle, isn't there, of domestic abusive relationships, because people might believe that their partner has changed and give them a second chance maybe, but then it just goes back to how it was.
Absolutely. And later on, there's going to be a situation where I guess the police come. And they say separate completely, but she goes back. So it's similar to what you're saying. People believe, or in this case, women believe in these situations that he might change, or maybe this was a one-off, or maybe I did something wrong and that's why that occurred. Sometimes that's the point of view as well. That's not expressed in this book that she did something wrong, but she does openly believe that he will change. And she does openly believe that because he lost his job, that's why this is happening. Because he drinks, that's why this is happening. She's not saying that it's him that's doing it, which, wow. If you come to that conclusion, I probably wouldn't have anything to write.
That's true.
Yeah.
And because it kicks off with a big opening scene, has it been hard maybe for you to top that throughout the book? Or is there even bigger stuff that happens down the line?
When you get midway in, there is a humongous situation that occurs. Wow. But that's part of the plot twist. And then as well, the very ending of the book, there's something that happens. The very last page, something that happens. Some readers have said, hey, how come you did it like that? I'm not going to say too much. And then some readers go, okay, I get it. Because how the story works is, let me give you an example. Say you watched... perfect example. Say you watch one of the Batman movies and then you have Harley, what's his name? The guy that becomes Two-Face later on. He doesn't begin. I don't remember his real name, but he's a police officer or he's some good guy. And he starts off as a good guy, but as things occur in his life, he turns into that villain. He doesn't start off as the villain. You know what I mean? So as we read this book, things happen to her and she reacts to it, and then at the end we see whatever happens. So it's an interesting thing. I like to show character development, character strength, character weakness. I like to show all of that in one, because when we're humans, we have all these different sides that make us who we are.
Yeah, absolutely. I've just looked it up, and I think the guy from Batman is actually just called Two-Face.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Okay, thank you.
So where did the inspiration for the book actually come from?
Wow. Okay. So there's two stories behind that. I actually knew a friend who was experiencing this type of situation. And she would call me and tell me, I just got choked. He just threw something at me. And I'd say, why don't you leave? And I got the answer, it's my fault. I was yelling. It was my fault. I didn't do what I was supposed to do. I came late. It didn't make any sense to me. So when I started to research, I realized that staying seems to be something that women justify for some reason. They justify it. And I wanted to show in this story that, okay, yes, it's justified, but there's a way out. And in this story, there's two ways out, right? It's shown in the story. So I wanted to show that there's a way out. I wanted to show that there's unity if women speak to other women about their situation. And then I wanted to show that, because there's a character, Ashley, I wanted to show that if a woman receives this code red, I'm in this relationship and this is what's happening, please don't ignore it and try to help that person. So Ashley serves as she's one of her friends. She serves as a code red. Okay, I just got this information that my friend is going through this. This is what I do to help. And you'll see how she tries to help out. And then the second part is, I wrote this as a smaller collection first. And I put it out individually. And when I put it out individually, I had a good response for it. And then I said, okay, let me build on it and then put it into a book form, but not publish it. And I did that. And my editor said, no, this should be a book. This is really fantastic. So I said, okay, fine. I put it as a book form. And then I was contacted by a university student who wanted to make it into a movie, but didn't have the funding for it. Then I was contacted from somebody from, I guess, the Middle East, I believe, through email, and said they wanted to make a movie, and they didn't have the funding for it. So I know I'm sitting on something very valuable. I guess I'll just wait. You know what I mean? You'll just wait for that movie opportunity. That comes later on. But yeah, I knew I had something good. I knew that it was a genuine story. I knew that Ruth was a relatable character, so I just had to share her story and watch people empathize with what she's going through.
Yeah, absolutely. And it would be great to have a movie made out of this. And from the part of the book that I've read, it seems like it would work really well as a movie, I guess because it's quite dramatic.
Yes, and here's the secret behind that. When I went to school, because I went to university, I was a film student. So when I write my books, it's very visual and dramatic because that's what I studied.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would have noticed that when you read the preview that it is dramatic, that you can see what's happening. Yeah, it is because that's my background. My background is to show what's happening in a very vivid way. So that's how I've written this book, and I've started my next book, and it's in the same vein as well.
Yeah, that seems to be quite a common thing, actually, people with that background doing books that you can easily image as films. Do you think that those type of people make better books in general?
That's a very good question. Do they make better books? Interesting. Well, you see, here's the thing. I've read a few books, and you said make better books. That's an amazing question.
Yeah.
I think it's just depending on how your brain is wired. My brain is wired, and how I was taught in film is you have to have an action like every couple seconds or the audience is going to be bored. So that's how I think. I think that, okay, if I'm writing so much detail and nothing substantial is happening, this is boring. But another author would say, no, I gotta write 25 pages just to get to the beginning of my important section. No, to me, you've wasted 25 pages. I'm being honest. You've wasted 25 pages.
Yeah.
Let's condense it and show action and show sequence and show how does everything connect with everything.
Yeah.
And that's how I like it. And people describe this book as like, I would have to say, what would they call it? A page turner. Every page gives you a next detail. And then some of my readers say, I challenge you to make a larger book, like a longer book. And I said, no problem. My next book's going to be 150 pages. And they said, well, are you going to make it page turner all the way through? I said, no, you're going to have a break, of course, because, you're going to need a break, right? You might need a break to take a shower. You might need a break to go to work. You're going to need a break. So there will be a break moment where you could go, and then you go to bed, or then you take a shower, and then after that you read, and there'll be another break for you to, because I do understand that people can't go from 1 to 150 in one sitting, but they can do that with this book. They definitely do that with this book. In one sitting, they just go right through, right to the end.
Yeah, that's a good idea. You could have a book where it literally says intermission at some point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because people told me about it. They said I picked it up and I couldn't leave because I was in the middle of something. And when I read the next page, I was in the middle of something. So I couldn't leave this book until it was done. And I said, okay, fine, I can do that. So just being conscious of what people are saying is very important too, right?
Definitely. And when you're writing a book, is that maybe harder to keep the audience's attention than a film? Because if somebody's bored in a film, they can be like, well, it's only an hour and a half. I can maybe survive that long. Whereas a book is a bit of an investment, isn't it, really, with your time? Because you've been reading it for at least a few nights in a row.
I would say for sure, if I have done it, if a movie is bad, I'll just keep watching it, just hoping that it gets better. Oh, it wasn't better. All right, fine. That movie sucks. With a book, it's not like that. If you read it and it's bad, it's over. You put it down and there's another book you're going to read. That's just how it works. People don't say I'm going to read all the way through hoping that it gets better. It starts off the way it is. That's how it's going to continue. And you just rather invest your time in something else. So I think for me, I go through my check first. I read it. Do I like it? Do I love it? Do I adore it? It checks all those three. I send it off to my editor. My editor, do you like it? Do you love it? Are you inspired? Okay, send it off to my second editor. Do you like it? Do you love it? Are you inspired? Yes. Then we put it to the public. So it doesn't go from me to the consumer right away. It never goes that way. It goes through many checks before, because we got to make sure that at the end of the day, the consumer is entertained, they're challenged, they're inspired, and more importantly, they're provoked to have an emotional connection with the project.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I always like to talk about the covers of books for some reason, and yours is pretty cool. You've got a couple of mugs with a black one that says I hate you,
Yes.
and a red one that says I love you, which kind of portrays the main themes of the book quite well, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think you said it best. It does portray the empty couple. We played with the word cup, obviously, and the I love you and I like you. That's 100% the situation. You have Michael that hates Ruth, and you got Ruth that loves Michael. It portrays the complete concept. It's a visual, what do you say, summary of the book, actually. I would say it's one liking and one hating, for sure. No doubt about it.
Yeah, and those mugs could potentially be an empty couple, literally.
Yes. Absolutely.
And the font is cool, and you get the main idea that it's quite scary and thrilling from the colours and stuff, don't you?
Yes. The funny thing is, watch this. This is beautiful. We had a white cover before.
Oh.
And the book was selling. But when I was reading the comments, because I read Google Play comments, and I read Amazon comments, and they were saying, this was not what I expected from the cover. So I was like, whoa, okay. Then another person said that, and I said, okay. So I contacted my graphic designer, and I said, hey, this book might look like something else to them. Can we tweak it to make it more suspenseful, make it more mysterious, make it more from the thriller avenue? And then they tinted it, darkened it, and that's what we got. And now we got the response from our audience that, okay, yeah, this is what they expect. This is what the cover looks like. So it's amazing, because we thought we had it done the first time. But no, the audience was saying this was, they liked the book, but they didn't expect it from this cover. So that's how we made the adjustment.
Yeah.
And that was just a color. Yeah, just a color.
Because I think I've just found your old cover.
Yes,
and
it's there.
Still looks like a sort of thriller, doesn't it? But it's not as scary, I suppose.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So how long did this book take you to write?
Wow, that story is true. It does take long. It does take a while to write. Oh, wow. I would say that's a very good question. How long did it take to write? Because there's a concept. I'd probably say maybe 4 years, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Because there was a lot of development. Because it wasn't supposed to be a book. It was just supposed to be a collection. And then it turned into a book. You know what I mean? So the intention is different. With this new book I'm writing, the focus is a book. So that will probably take, that next book will probably be out before summer. But it's different when your intentions are different. So that book wasn't intended to be a book until I just saw it manifesting into a book that people were responding to. So I said, okay, fine, that's what it's going to be. But this next one is going to be for the purpose of being a book.
Okay, so tell us about this next one then, if you can. What's that about?
No, you know what it is? I'm excited about this next one as well. The reason why I wanted to write, I wanted to include a child. I really did. And I wanted to include the effects of child abuse on a child. And I didn't have that research yet, but I did read a book. The book was called A Child Called It, or I don't want to misquote his book. What's it? It is called that. A Child Called It. Yeah. And that was a brilliant book to me. It was very hard to read at times. It's like so detailed. Like, how can a mother be so cruel to a child? And when I read that book, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm committed to what my vision is going to be. And then I did my personal research, statistics and stuff like that. And I came up with the concept. I can't go too much into it, but it is a couple. They do have a child. It's the same setup like a common law. In my empty couple, that occurs in the city of Blue. Blue is a city where everybody has money, they're well off. There's another city there called Locke. Locke is more of like people are trying to become successful but might not be. They're looking to go to Blue, the city of Blue, but they're not there yet. And then I introduce a new city, which is in this book. And then this is basically the city where all the rejects go, where people have failed, where people have no jobs, where crime is. That's the city I'm working with.
Yeah, that sounds quite thrilling. You like your thrilling books, don't you?
Yes, I do. I'm going to continue. I'm definitely going to continue in that theme for sure.
Absolutely. Well, where can we check out your current book, The Empty Couple, if we'd like like to be thrilled.
Thank you. The Empty Couple can be found at Amazon, could be found at Barnes & Noble, could be found on Google Play, and could be found on Kobe.
Great. Well, thanks very much for coming on today. It's been great to chat to you.
Awesome, thank you. Love the questions. Absolutely. Thank you very much.